number 10 Texas at number 5 Georgia. 7:30 ABC prime time. Right now, currently, the line has dropped to Georgia 5.5. So some money coming in on the Horns, obviously. My big question in this game is, has that Texas offense, like we alluded to, have they figured something out in the past couple games? And if they have, can they duplicate it against that Glenn Schumann-led Dogs D? Honestly, they've kind of been average a little bit this season.
Yeah, I do think Texas has figured some stuff out offensive. I think Sark has adjusted to, how he's calling plays for this offense this deep into the season with just the strengths and the weaknesses that this team has. I do think that they have improved. I mean, again, teams are allowed to improve throughout the season. Do I think it's still anywhere near what we thought this offense was going to be? Absolutely not. I do not. And do I think that they still have a lot of deficiencies? Yes, I do. So I don't think that I'm not even going to call it get right, because it's like Texas has been playing better offensively here lately as it is. I just don't think that Texas's offense is going to have some offensive explosion against this Georgia defense and against this Kirby Smart, Glenn Schumann defense, and not in Athens and not at night, not against this Georgia defense, where obviously Texas has the ability to hang in this game is to lean on their studs on defense, to lean on the Colin Simmons, to lean on the Anthony Hill Juniors, and so on that team. I'm assuming Michael Taft is going to be back for this one, kind of the quarterback of that defense at the safety spot. I would imagine he's going to be back for this one. But that is where Texas can stay in this game. Where they also need to do here is dude, last year, the amount of turnovers that both of these teams had against each other in those two matchups were unbelievable. So many turnovers. But Texas specifically, with their deficiencies that they do have on offense, bro, you cannot. And this goes for any game, but especially a game where you're not far superior like they are to Mississippi State and like they are to the Kentuckys, like they are to Vandy. Texas is not far superior to Georgia athletically, physically, team-wise, coaching staff-wise. Nope, not at all. So that gets heightened if you turn the football over on the road in this atmosphere against this football team, that just you're not going to have a chance to win the game. You cannot turn the football over in this game to win. And that really goes for Georgia too, but especially for Texas on the road here. So I think that the matchup for Texas against this Georgia defense, I don't love it by any means. It's just still kind of strange though, man. What did Georgia do last year that really just hurt Texas in these two matchups?
If I remember correctly, especially that game in Austin, they really jumped on them right in the first quarter, which we know Georgia has not been a first quarter team this year. But they jumped on him. They got pressure on Ewers, big time pressure up in his face. Arch he's been okay at protecting the ball. He got 18 touchdowns, 6 picks. Haven't really looked too deep into his turnover stats, maybe a couple more fumbles, but he's protected the ball okay. And again, with that Georgia D, you can take advantage of that secondary. We've seen multiple teams take advantage of that secondary, hit some deep shots. But to your original question, I think, that last, especially that first game in Austin, they blitzed them from the very, very first second.
10 tackles for a loss and 7 sacks in that matchup last year.
Yep.
Jalen Walker and that crew is not walking through the door this year for Georgia. So that would be where...
And that was also against a way better Texas offensive line, though.
Correct.
Their offensive line is not good this year.
Correct. I just don't think that this Georgia defensive front can get after the passer and will be able to just, get after Manning as much as obviously the Georgia defense last year. Again, this far into the season, the Georgia defense is what they are. They're still a very good defense. They're going to be able to slow down the run against most teams that they play. But they're not going to be able all of a sudden to just like dominate behind the line of scrimmage and create a ton of sacks and create a ton of pressure. The only way that they can create some pressure is if they send pressure, blitzing, and things like that. That's how they've been getting pressure so far this year. So it's just going to be a completely different type of matchup between these two teams. Again, last year, Georgia punked them on the line of scrimmage, specifically along the defensive line. Offensively for Georgia in this one, when did you think you would say this before the season? That the quarterback matchup in this game favors Gunnar Stockton over Arch Manning?
I mean, if you look at our preseason quarterback rankings in the SEC, yeah, we wouldn't say that.
No, but nobody would. Nobody had
Yeah,
Gunnar
right.
Stockton ahead of Arch Manning going into the season. So yeah,
And
Gunnar
I
Stockton is.
still, I know Arch. If you look at the expectations for both quarterbacks, for
Mhm.
Arch and for Gunnar Stockton, they were nowhere in the same realm. So
They should have been.
I know, but I don't think Arch. He was never probably going to live up to those expectations for him. Gunner's expectations were a little lower, so we look at his stats and we're like, "Oh, he really has outperformed his expectations." But like his stats aren't like really too far off of Arch's.
No,
He's made some big time throws in some big time games,
yeah.
but
What I was
it's not like
saying
he's
was
lit the
is
world on fire.
What I was saying was is not that Gunner's expectations should have been through the roof like Arch's were. It should have been the other way around. Arch's expectations for a first year starter should have been closer to what the expectations were for Gunner Stockton. If his last name
Yeah,
was Stockton or Smith or something else, it would have been, but because his last name's Manning and so on,
yeah,
we all know that whole story. But this offense, led by Mike Bobo, has been playing really well down the stretch for Georgia. Really well. Gunnar Stockton's playing really well. I mean, really, dude, they can hit you from all kinds of different like angles. That is the more so than any team that Texas has played so far this year because they got a broken hand John Mateer in the Oklahoma game. And that's not taking anything away from the Texas defense, okay? Both things can be true. Texas's defense is really freaking good and has elite playmakers. And John Mateer did have a freaking broken hand with like a brace on his hand that he came back early from surgery from to play in that game. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. That happened in that game.
and Oklahoma really wasn't running the ball that well at that point of the season,
No,
regardless.
no, they weren't. This Georgia offense is the most, I'm going to say, like complete, can hit you from all kinds of different like angles than
Balance.
any offense that Texas has faced this year. They can go in the +1 run game from the QB power run game with Gunnar Stockton. They can turn around and hand the football off to multiple backs who have been running the football really well here down the stretch for Georgia. They've got a plethora of wide receivers who have been making plays for them, 4 or 5 different guys who are making plays for them. And they've got 2 or 3 tight ends that are beyond tough to defend. And they're using all of them in every matchup that they play in right now. Like they're hitting you from like if you watch the Ole Miss game, that tight end group, like Lawson Lucky
Yeah.
and Oscar Delt just dominated that. They took over the game at one point.
Is Lucky playing this game? I know he got banged up last game.
I'm not sure. Probably should know that, but I'm
Yeah.
really not sure. Either way, they've got like 3 tight ends right now at Georgia that are making plays and playing really well, and they always do, but they do right now.
Yeah.
But just this will be the most like overall like talented group collectively and a tougher offense to stop for Texas because you can't just line up and stop the run because they can beat you in the passing game. You can't just think about the running backs running the football because Gunnar Stockton is a very good runner. And I think you will see him run the football a lot. Again,
Yeah.
what hurts the Georgia defense? What hurts Kirby Smart's defense? A dual threat
Yeah.
quarterback that can run and pass. I think you're going to see Arch run the football more. Sark knows that. I mean, so if we all know that, Sark knows that against this group.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see. I think Gunnar Stockton's going to run the ball, but I'm anxious to see how their traditional running game stacks up because Texas is allowing 78 yards per game rushing.
Oh
second
yeah,
in the country.
I don't think Georgia's going to be able just to line up and say, "Here we come, boys. Here comes the mean machine in red and black. We're just going to line up and run off tackle and run." I got it in there, bro. I got it in there.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able just to run through the A gaps and off tackle against this Texas defensive front and expect to have consistent success. Got to keep the Texas defense honest. You can't allow Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill Jr. and Trey Moore and some of these other pass rushers just to tee off and think you're going to throw every time. Got to be able to keep them honest in the run game. Hey, what does Bobo love to do?
Loves those
Screens,
screens.
quick passes. That's good against a team that wants to pin
I
their
think
ears back and rush the quarterback.
I think you'll see some screens from Sark too,
Oh, you
because
will.
when they did that against Vandy, they really found some quick hitters there. The air yards for Arch was like 2 air yards per pass in the first half, so he wasn't getting it downfield, but they were getting the ball in the playmakers' hands, and Ryan Wingo and those guys were making some plays. So before we get to game picks, real quick for anyone who wasn't tuning in last night, we talked about this game a lot when it comes to
Mhm,
playoffs.
mhm.
Anybody's looking at this game preview and just clicking on this video, we appreciate you. Click subscribe for us. um you talked pretty quick. We'll make it quick. You talked a lot about this being like a must win for Texas, and people saying it be a must win for
Yeah,
Texas.
other people are saying that, yeah.
Other people, yeah, and nobody's talking about the Georgia side and if this is like a must win for them.
Yes, I what Tyler's alluding to is last night, it's just unbelievable to me that everybody, and I think it's because just looking at the amount of losses in the loss column for each team.
Sure.
They're only talking about Texas being a do or die season on the line, college football playoff like elimination game for Texas. And that's just not the case. Like, look at the rankings right now. If Texas is a 9-3 team, meaning that let's just say they lose this game, if they beat undefeated, ranked number 1, 2, or 3, Texas A&M at the end of the season, and that's how they end their season is beating that team, they are going to be a significantly more attractive 3-loss team than any of those 3-loss SEC teams from last year. The Alabama, who just got their cheeks clapped by 24-3 by Oklahoma, who lost 6 games last year. South Carolina, who lost to Alabama and to Ole Miss. Speaking of Ole Miss was that other 9-3 team. They had an awful loss to Kentucky on their home field, and they lost to Florida as well. But again, that loss to Kentucky was that awful loss. Texas would have no just awful losses. Again, the loss in Gainesville at Florida, not great, but still, that's not like as bad as some of the losses I just said. And they would have losses at Ohio State and at Georgia. They would also have wins over Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. All 3 of those teams are in the top 15 in the country right now as we sit here today, and who we obviously know that committee respects. So they would still have a shot. Georgia acting like this is not some like, and again, no, I'm not going to say must win, but if Georgia were to lose this game, ask Georgia fans about that Georgia Tech game last year. Who does
Mhm.
Georgia play at the end of the year this year, like they do every year?
Yep.
They played Georgia Tech, and shame on them for not playing that game in Bobby Dodd. But that game will be played at Mercedes Benz Stadium. But then that becomes a must win, do or die game for Georgia. All of the pressure would be on Georgia in that spot because all those things I just said about 9-3 Texas having a shot to get in. If Georgia loses this game and then turns around and loses again at the end of the year to Georgia Tech, losing 2 of their final 3 games, they would not have the resume to be the 9-3 team to get into the college football playoff, like I just mentioned with Texas. So I'm not going to say it's obviously both teams want to win the dang game. Okay. Like, don't be one of those people that's like, oh, he's trying to say that neither one of these teams need to win. Yes, it is both teams want to win the freaking game. Okay. It's going to be a fantastic game, but it is not a do or die game for Texas. It is not, in my opinion, any more important for Texas than this is for Georgia. This is as important for both of these teams considering the college football playoffs and where that's concerned. But
All
my
right,
last
I
thing,
gotta
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say
No, you
my
go ahead.
last thing on this game, man. Where Texas played Georgia twice last year. There's a reason why that, like, really the monster underneath Georgia's bed has really only been Alabama over the last several years. You've got to have a certain type of mindset and a certain type of just, you got to turn it up a notch to go play Georgia in Athens and to go toe to toe with them in Athens and beat them. The athletes they're going to put on the field, the physicality that Georgia's going to bring. Just ask Texas how caught off guard they were last year at the beginning of that game when Georgia lined up, and they did. They came into Austin last year with the mindset of, we're going to steal your freaking lunch money and make you like it. And that is what Georgia did to Texas last year. Georgia in that SEC championship game, took a standing 8 count from Texas and stood there with their mouth bleeding and just kept on coming
with their backup quarterback.
with their backup quarterback, took their best punch and kept coming and just out physicaled and bullied Texas. The only team that did that last year. I want to know if Texas has taken that next step and going because, like, yes, we all know Texas has talent. Okay, they've got freaking from a talent perspective, they've got as good as anybody in the country, including Georgia. They've got an incredible staff. I want to know if Texas can seriously lock those gates, nobody gets out, and they can stand there in Athens toe to toe with the Dogs, with the mean machine in red and black, and go toe to toe for 4 quarters with them physically. Because if they can win this game. They can.
I got a best bet in this game. And until Georgia and Texas prove me otherwise, I'm going to take Georgia in the matchup. When it dipped to 5.5, I snagged it at 5.5. Like I said, I mean, until Georgia proves me wrong that they're going to lose, a game like this, not to Alabama at home, and that Texas can go in there, like you just said, and be physical enough to handle it. They may do that. They may prove me wrong. I may lose the bet, but I'm going to take Georgia minus 5.5 in this game.
I've got a best bet in this game as well. Exact same reasons you just said. Until Georgia proves me otherwise, that they're not going to, in a big game like this, played anywhere, but especially in Athens, against somebody not named Alabama, then until Texas can show me that they can beat Georgia in a game like this. We've seen Texas on the road this year. We saw them at Mississippi State. We saw them at Kentucky. We saw them at Ohio State. We saw them at Florida. They struggled in all of those matchups on the road. And this is as tough as an environment as they're going to be in all year. And I actually think that Georgia matches up well with Texas. This year's Georgia team matches up well with them, with that group that they've got on the offensive side of the ball. I think Georgia doesn't have to blitz and stuff. I don't think they necessarily need to see how much pressure they can get on Arch Manning. I think that they're fine with Arch Manning standing back there trying to survey and trying to find guys open. Take away the short passing game and try to make Texas beat you over the top. That'd be what Georgia needs to do defensively. But I think Georgia matches up really well in this game, and I think they're going to take it to Texas. I also got it at 5.5, and I'm going to take the Dogs to cover the 5.5 and to win this game.
No, that's it for us, man. We'll be back this weekend to recap all the Week 12 action, to kind of look ahead to some more playoff scenarios and whatnot, looking at some bigger picture stuff with only 2 weeks remaining after this weekend of the regular season. So once again, man, we appreciate you guys hanging in there with us, tuning in, listening, watching YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all that, X, Instagram, TikTok, everything, all that good stuff. We appreciate it, man. We thank you guys. Can't thank you enough. Stick with us. It's going to be a fun next couple of months for the college football playoffs, the national championship, all that good stuff. So for Lance Barton, I'm Tyler Noe. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.